tonight we'll begin with Ms. Howell, who teaches World History, Government, and Avid here on campus.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, organizers, and thank you, the audience. I'm excited to be here to be part of our first TED event. I'm going to start. Do I need that? No. Okay. I'm going to start after my thank yous. I'm going to start telling you a story. The story was 25 years ago, and that makes me sad to say that. 25 years ago when I was in high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. You know, I just knew I didn't want to be what my mom and dad were. I wanted to be something different. And I took all of these career tests on what you should be and what you should be. And by senior year, I had it narrowed down to two things. I should be a lawyer, or I should be a teacher. And I went to my counselor. My counselor said, go to law school. You will make so much money, like it's the Holy Grail. And that sounded really, really attractive to me because I had no money growing up. But I sat with the information for quite a while, and I wasn't convinced that I wanted to go to law school. And after a while, I did what I found I'm going to do the rest of my life. I made pro-con charts. And I said, okay, pro-con lawyer, pro-con teacher. And I looked at the lawyer, and the lawyer column had a lot of dollar signs in it. And I said to myself, I think I'd be a really good lawyer. And I know I would enjoy the money. But when I looked at the teacher side, I said, I think I have the chance or the opportunity to be a really great teacher. And if you're my student, occasionally at least, a really great teacher. And I know for sure I'll have a lot more fun with my life if I get to be a teacher. And so since then, I've gotten several college degrees, and I'm a teacher. We're here today. But the friends that I went to high school with, the neurosurgeon, the chief of staff for a governor of a neighboring state, the Greenpeace lawyer, the UN lawyer, many lawyers, small business owners, they say, when are you going to use your education? When are you going to do something? And I find that a little offensive because I'm a professional and I educate, and without me, the show, there are no future doctors and lawyers and governors. And I get to be an artist in the classroom, and I get to be a scientist with my data, and I get to make each day new. And every day, most every day, when I come to school, I learn more from my students than they learn from me, and maybe I shouldn't brag about that. But when I come home and I'm at the dinner table, I'm talking to my family about what I did that day, and I'm excited and I'm still passionate about learning all these decades later. The problem is this. Any different class during the day, I'm in a room with 35 teenagers, and none of them are as excited to be there as I am. Do you think that's true? It's true. At least it's true in my class, so I don't know what I can say about that. I think high schoolers are a lot less enthusiastic and passionate about education, and it makes me sad. Number one, because I'd like to be idolized. Number two, because when you were children, when you were in elementary school, you loved learning. When you wrote your name in cursive, that was like the proudest day of second grade, right? You loved it. It was great. I teach really cool things in high school, and yet I don't think anybody goes home and says, Mom, I learned about the Electoral College today. Woo! I don't think that's happening. But I know elementary kids love learning, and I know high school kids get through the day. And what happens? What happens between second grade and 12th grade? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Lots and lots of studies show that preschool and elementary kids ask 100 questions a day. And I just spent a couple weekends ago, I babysat my nieces, and I would say it's probably more 100 questions an hour. Why, how? They're always asking questions. And I can be trapped in a room with 35 of the brightest minds in Chandler, Arizona. And I can spend 2 hours with them, and I can get information in them. But am I going to get very many student questions out of them? No. Somewhere between early elementary and high school, it becomes uncool to question. It becomes uncool cool to be enthusiastic about learning. On another note, you guys are smarter than your parents, right? The Flynn effect research says that you are smarter than your parents, and your parents were smarter than their grandparents. And it's not that we put something in the water. It's that our environment is so information dense that you're just kind of naturally accumulating a little bit more knowledge. But there's really interesting research out there that says since 1990, you're a lot less creative than your parents. The ones you think are sticks in the muds, the ones who are just busy going to work and getting the job done, they were more creative at your age than you're statistically testing out to be. So why is that? So we have two things that we're talking about. Younger kids ask more questions. Older kids are showing less creativity and asking less questions. In Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, the Queen asked Alice, "When is the last time you believed in an impossible thing?" And the Queen says, "Sometimes I believe in 6 impossible things before breakfast." Imagine when you believed in impossible things. When was the last time that you were excited about a new idea? So my argument to you is going to be this, that to improve your education, we have to improve your enthusiasm for learning. To improve your enthusiasm for learning, we have to get you engaged in learning. To get you engaged in learning, we have to convince you to interact with the material, to ask questions. And I'm going to propose something that is not going to be popular, but we'll see how it goes. You need discipline. Okay. You need discipline. You need attention to detail, and you need routines. It seems counterintuitive that enthusiasm and creativity can be designed through routine. And yet research shows us over and over and over again that it's true. Every summer, I take all the objectives I have to teach for every class, and I take a calendar, and I plan out what I'm going to teach. I know it doesn't seem like it. I plan out what I'm going to teach every single day for the whole year. So if you ask me after this meeting, don't though, if you ask me what I'm going to teach on April 17th, I can tell you. And that means when I plan what I'm going to teach in April, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to teach. I get to be creative. I get to think how I'm going to teach. I've learned your grade and your needs and your interests, and I'm able to create activities and processes and projects that can engage your learning where you don't know. It's a lot of thought and effort that went into it. But if I had not planned out what I was going to teach ahead of time, I would have used my brain power to think about what I should teach the next day. I know all of you know this. If you're a pianist, you play the piano hours a day. If you're in basketball, you practice dribbling. If you're a quarterback, is it throwing passes? I don't know. You do something a lot if you want to be Routine creates muscle memory, and when you do something so much, you get good at it, and you get better at it because you're just doing the basics, and then you can improve on it. So maybe you didn't connect with the story of me mapping out my curriculum because I'm old. Thank you for that, okay? But I'm going to tell you a story that I think is more relevant to you. I'm currently in the process of endangering my life. Every day after school, I'm living on the wild side, and I'm teaching my twins how to drive. Note to you, stay off the streets, just saying. So if you want to get a teenager to ask questions, teach them how to drive. My feet do what? My hands go where? And my favorite, there's how many mirrors I have to look at? What? And so for the first 10 hours of driving, there's no radio. I can't breathe loudly. They're concentrating so hard, right? They're like, oh, there's no car. And they're like, I'm gonna crash, right? It's because you're spending all of your time not ruining mom's car. So now they're about 10 hours in, and they're a lot more relaxed, but we still have a long way to go. And I know in about a year or so, I'll throw them the keys to the car. car and I'll say, I need milk. And they're going to go to the store and they're going to come home and they're not going to remember the drive. Not because they're Mac users and they blacked out. They're not going to remember the drive because in a year from now they will have hundreds of hours of driving underneath their belt. And driving will be routine. And during the drive, their brain might be off thinking about how to ask somebody to homecoming. Or it might be trying to solve a theorem. Or it might be trying to conjugate verbs. I don't know. It could be doing something else. Because they know how to drive. Imagine if every day you woke up and had to relearn how to drive. How much less would you learn in a day if every day you had to relearn those basic processes? Our goal is to not be distracted by process, correct? Right? Probably our number one person about that is Albert Einstein. So he takes a very routine job, a very repetitive job, where he's probably bored, but his mind is kept occupied and he can invent with the other half of his brain, and he has time to be creative. And then I don't know about you, because I give you a lot of homework, but I don't have to do the homework. So I have a lot of time to watch TV. And when I'm not watching YouTube videos about cats, there's a show I like to watch that has a main character called Sheldon. And in an episode 2 years ago or so, Sheldon's trying to solve this problem about string theory. And he attacks it head on. I'm smart, here's the problem, I'm going to solve it. And 72 hours later, he hasn't solved it. So he decides to do what his idol Einstein has done, and he takes a job that he does consider beneath him, a very repetitive job, and as he's busy doing very routine tasks, the creative part of his brain solves the problem. And I think we could learn a lot about life from Sheldon and Albert Einstein. I don't know, maybe not. So our goal is to promote routine creativity. I think education does a great disservice to high school students, especially high school seniors. I think we ask you, some people only come to school 4 hours a day. Maybe you're here 7 hours a day. And then we say, you have a paper, it is due in 2 weeks, get it done. And what is the average student going to do when they're assigned a paper and it's due in 2 weeks? They're going to procrastinate. 12 days from now, they're going to think, oh, I have a paper due. Tomorrow's going to suck. And then tomorrow, they're going to spend 7 hours writing this paper. And then they're going to turn into me angry and bitter. I got it done. I spent 7 hours on it. I better get an A. Yes, it's true. I better get an A, right? I think that the service we give you is we haven't encouraged you to build a routine. What if you had taken those 7 hours and done what Einstein had done and been a little bit more like Sheldon? What if you had worked on your paper a little bit routine-like every single day in those 2 weeks? You just said, okay, every day from 4 to 4:30, I'm going to work on my paper. You don't have to think about when to budget. You're just budgeting the time. That part of your brain, I know I'm going to be working on that, so you work on it. You're working on it a little bit over 2 weeks. Do you think you're going to have more time to interact with the material? To remember something from 8th grade that your science teacher said that relates to what your government teacher is saying? To look up something on YouTube that is really interesting to you? I think the answer is yes. And I think when you turn in your paper, you're not exasperated and you're not saying, I better get an A. I think you're saying, I wonder if my teacher supports my argument. And I think when you get the paper back, at least it's the teacher geek part of me, I think you're going to read the comments. And I think if you don't agree with the comments, you're going to go, hey, you know, did you see this research? This is why I put this in here. You're going to be a lot more engaged. I'm not arguing that we need to work to make 12th graders act like 2nd graders. Because heaven forbid, I don't want to teach you to blow your nose or stand in line. Okay? But I do want you to have enthusiasm. I do want you to ask questions. And my argument's simple. If you take the material and you do it as a matter of routine rather than procrastinate, your brain has the opportunity to work on the material and then to brainstorm. The whole left brain, left brain hypothesis. and you're going to come up with a lot more information. Like driving, routines in studying would allow your left brain and your right brain to give you a more creative output in life. So, in conclusion, our goal, our mission is to create lifelong learners. My mission is that you don't leave high school hating us and hating learning. I want you to still say, I want to learn. I'm engaged with learning. I don't mind asking questions, even if I look a little silly asking the question itself. And so, to increase that love of learning, we have to improve creativity. And to improve creativity, as counterintuitive as it seems, I think we need to encourage upper-level students to be more routinized, have more routines in their everyday studying. I think you could do the same amount of work or less work, be more creative, and enjoy it a lot more if you wouldn't procrastinate, if you would build routines into your day, and you would allow both sides of your brain to engage with the material rather than just getting it done the night before after your favorite cat video is over. And that's all I got.